welcome to a new episode of the Gist and Info Nollywood production. Alright, so we're always talking about different things. Today we're talking about Americans. What do Americans think about Africans? So I know that we're not psychic, so we actually went out and talked to some Americans. What do you guys think? Right. So we're going to take a moment and take a look at that. All right.
When I think of Africa, I think of lions and tigers and bears. Oh my.
I don't really have a bad perception of Africa. I know, it's just like, the United States as far as having buildings and stuff. I'm not naive to saying that it's probably certain parts of Africa there's jungles, you see tigers and stuff like that. But other than that,
I think that it's more developed than what people think that it is.
The AIDS epidemic, I hear, is they're getting a hold of it, but it's still, I think healthcare could be a little better than it is.
I think they should, make the taxes for Africans higher over there because they're at a sort of an advantage coming over to America, learning the business style and taking it back to the Africa to make more money.
Then you have a problem that you have in South Africa with apartheid.
There's war-torn countries in Africa like Sierra Leone.
Politicians in Africa, start spreading the wealth, all right? Quit sticking it in your pockets and then go to another country and spend it. Thank you.
The wife rule in Africa, how you can have many wives. I think that'll make life interesting from a male's perspective,
Women being circumcised. Now, what the hell is up with that? I don't get that. I really don't get that. And I honestly think they ought to address that. And raping women, that to me, that is the worst thing you can do, to be sacrilege against the female race. I mean, everybody has mothers. Everybody has mothers. You understand me?
Africa is a place that I would like to see someday. I think that's probably all I can tell you that I know about Africa.
All right. Interesting. Lions and tigers and bears.
I'm not scared.
Wow, in 2013, even with the National Geographic Channel.
Well, I don't think the National Geographic Channel does much to expand
the Travel
Africa
Channel
more than the jungle.
Okay, the Travel Channel.
When's the last time you've seen parts of Africa on the Travel Channel that was the most exotic or the most modern?
Lucky Housewives.
She's gonna keep looking. But
all jokes aside, no, it's like seriously.
All jokes
some
aside,
of those comments,
some of them were on point. For what they know. I mean, once upon a time it used to be, did you have lions in your backyard? And I would be like, did you? Cause no, they're lions. We didn't. So it's good to know that there's a little bit more education, but there's still so much to educate people about. There's still so much to open up to see, to show people that, this is a continent. There's so many different things.
It's not a country.
Yeah. There's so many different things as we as Africans even haven't seen, when it comes to the culture and the diversity, but it's not all safaris. It's not all lions and tigers and bears.
And yes, we do have crooked politicians. We do.
AIDS.
Absolutely. And we do, and there are men that marry more than one wife.
And yes, there are carnivals.
And yes, there's all the things that go on with, children and women and AIDS, but that's anywhere.
I was going to say that with the, the gentleman who was, he made the comment about how come the politicians aren't spreading,
Well, he's on point.
Well,
you know what you're talking about.
You know what, he's right. He's
Absolutely.
right. But, Wall Street, Obama, how come, but okay, we are talking about Africa.
Exactly.
Right.
This is offensive.
I know, I can't help it. I love my Africa. But, all jokes aside, FGM, and we did cover that, which was the female genital mutilation. That is something, I was actually surprised to hear about that because I just learned about that. So to see somebody else who's American know what's going on there, I thought that was pretty interesting.
I think that there's more education now just because you have all these different missionaries that go over there, a lot more people volunteering that are not Africans. That actually get a chance to learn and they go and they're able to see, and so hence coming back with more information. So slowly but surely It's happening.
I mean, even the missionaries, they always go to the most remote part of Africa that you could ever think of. And the stories that they're going to always come up with, it's still how remote Africa is, how underdeveloped it is. And that's just, it's just, you know, it's sad to know that a picture is already painted. And, you know, America being, I don't know how the superpower comes into this, but being one of the countries that a lot of immigrants want to go to, you know, they kind of have the power to paint a picture of a certain place. You know, like, I mean, when you think of Mexico, you think of sombreros and cactus trees
Now, is this
and stuff
racism?
like that. But no, but that's how the Americans in their books have painted the picture. And when you think of Africa, you think of that kid that's crying, $1 a day can save this child's life forever. You know, and it's just like, I mean, I don't see
But picking back off of what she's saying, you know, people are opening their minds to Africa. Like she said, you know, they have organizations like the Peace Corps. My little sister, she's in Tanzania right now, and she grew up here mainly. So she has a lot of friends who actually grew up here, who went to Tanzania. They're there for 2 years. They're learning the culture. They're seeing different things. They're going whitewater rafting. So they're opening their minds. So I'm glad to see that it's getting a lot better than from before, where people were saying, "Oh, Africa, oh no."
Yeah.
You know, but I think, and everybody's entitled, these are these people's opinions and what they've seen, and that's why people really should get a passport. Get a passport,
Right.
people. Travel. Because at the end of the day, I have to be honest with you, you know, as a Nigerian, I was born here. I grew up here. And I
Where's
remember,
here?
Oh, here. It's not London. It's not Europe. We're in the United States.
Right.
Okay, the United States. All right, so I grew up here, you know, in the States. And I remember going back home, and my mom was like, okay, you guys, don't, you know, take your best stuff. Just try to be regular. And really, by the time we got there, we were so regular, and those girls were blowing us out the water. I mean, you know, we still carried ours, but
what just happened?
from the nightlife to restaurants,
It's completely changed.
to shopping.
So do you think that's because of what they're seeing?
No, what I'm saying is that
They
there's
don't know.
so much, like Africa is developing at such a high rate. Step out of the, there are politicians that are corrupt, there are
Or you
lions
see
and
lions-
tigers and
Because
bears.
if I have to
guess
see
what?
lions and tigers and bears, I go to the zoo.
Well, I was about to say, if I
Just
catch
like
the
that's
train
not-
downtown,
Can I
I'm
just
going to
make
see
a
lions
point?
and tigers
That
and
is
bears.
not by any means whatsoever new. That's never been the case. I'm sorry, like, we're talking about the new age now, and, you know, things have developed.
But I've
There has
always
never been,
gone to the zoo.
you know, exactly.
Right.
Always, as in from a toddler, it's been
Right.
the zoo. There's
It's
no
not-
lions.
I mean,
or
I don't have to
monkeys in our
pluck the leaves
backyard.
to like tie up
So-
my, you know,
Right. You know, we
I
wear
have clothes. I go
clothes.
to the,
You
I
know,
go to
we
the
wear
boutique.
shoes. We have private
Right.
schools. That's where I went. We
Right.
have big cities and cars. I always tell people, if you've ever been to New York, and you can hang in New York, you can hang in Lagos. Okay?
Absolutely, it is just the same thing. I mean, when I first got to New York, I was like, I might as well be in Lagos because
Right.
it's the same. I see rats running the subway.
Okay, see, she had to go.
You know what? But this is my thing. A lot of these, you know what's so funny? What I find interesting is a lot of, you know, when you ask Americans about their view on Africa or foreign countries, they'll be so quick to point out
The negative
But
side.
wait a minute, half of these people have never even been outside of their
Right.
state.
Right.
A lot of people don't even travel the United
But
States.
that's what I'm
they don't even
saying.
know what's going on in the United States.
Right, so
more
no,
than
but that's what I'm saying, that it might not
somewhere
be
else.
their fault because that's a
Oh, it's
picture
their
that's
fault.
painted.
It's their fault.
Well, listen, but
If
that's
you can ride over to the McDonald's faithfully every week, then you
Stop.
can drive a little
No,
further.
I
But
agree.
listen, but
I
that's
agree
a
with
picture
you.
that's
It is not
painted,
their fault
and it's
because
our job
educate
to
them, yeah.
change
Is
that.
it?
Yeah,
Is
it
it
is.
really?
It is. For you
Is
to tell
it
your friend,
really?
for someone to tell me like, oh my gosh, the first time they met me, and I'm like, you know, I mean, I think it was my first year in the United States. I grew up in Nigeria actually, but you know, and the person's like, you speak really good English. Yeah, it's my first language. And you're like,
So why is that my responsibility to teach you that
because they don't
English?
know.
No,
and
because-
it's
why
just-
don't they know?
But listen,
No,
listen.
why don't they know?
The only thing, okay,
Genuinely
what do you know about
naive.
America when you were growing up? The only thing you know, I mean, the only thing you know, oh, there are apples there. Oh, people,
I
there are
grew up-
gold on the streets.
No,
People
that
walk-
question
I mean,
can't go to me because I grew up
Oh,
here.
exactly. That's what I'm telling you. I grew up in Nigeria, and I know the perception that we have of Americans, you know, from Nigeria. And I've come here, and I know the perception that Americans have of Africans. And it's just like it's something you learn from school. It's something that's ingrained in you from a little
I
kid.
agree. Let me tell you why I agree wholeheartedly with what she's saying is because even now when I go home, when I'm talking to my cousins who've never traveled out or my uncles and stuff, there's this misconception that this is the land of gold. It is not, okay? you work harder here sometimes than you would have to back home. There are challenges here just like there are in any country. But there's this misconception, and it's my job to educate them, to let them know, look, don't be in a hurry to come to quote unquote the United States of America. It's not as simple as you think, just like it is our job here to educate the ones who've never traveled there that look, what you think of Africa, what you think of my country, which is all I can really tell you about.
This is something
what you
you
think
think
it is.
Let me say something. Right.
So much
Instead of getting so
opportunity
defensive
here.
and so angry
let me
when
say
people
something.
say things like that, there came a point where I went, you know what? It's not their fault. They don't know because they don't know, and all they know is what's being shown. Just
Right,
like
but
people back
hold
home,
on one
all
second.
they know is what
And-
they're being shown,
And
which
it's
is
the
this
same for
land of
and
gold
it's
and
the same
riches.
for
It's not.
Africans in America, just like you and Miss Bissy over there. That I mean, your perception of Americans is probably different. What is your perception of Americans? I'm pretty sure you probably think different from what Africans in Africa think of Americans here. What is your perception of when you think of America? I mean, the bad things that you would think of.
Spoiled.
Gangster.
Spoiled.
These niggas can't hold me back.
No, but I wanted to say, I'm sorry, in 2003, I think at one point in time, it might have been our responsibility to educate other people. But with the internet nowadays, with all this access to information, negative. No,
Think
wait
about
a minute,
it.
wait
When
a
you go
minute.
on
No,
the
wait a
internet,
minute.
how much information is positive?
And wait a minute.
That shows things in a
See,
true, beautiful light
listen,
of reality of Africa that you see.
Listen, but
Why
but
can't
another
you?
thing
There's
is that-
local news. There's stuff that there's like stop it. My girlfriend has a website, African Limelight, that only highlights positive things.
Who knows about African Limelight?
But the point is, Google it if you want to know.
But the
don't
point
sit
is-
down and go off
right,
of
but the
ignorance.
point
to
the
be
is-
directed there.
No,
That's what I'm saying.
no.
But-
If you
but the
didn't
point-
mention
but the
African
point-
Limelight, even me
Negative,
as an
I'm not buying
Africa
it.
wouldn't know about
I'm not
African
buying
Listen,
it.
guys,
If
so-
you want to know about Africa, then go and Google. It's not everything negative
Exactly.
that's going to come
See,
up.
now, listen,
Just
the
like
point
a child doing a book report at school, they don't know.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay, well,
Right.
I have to do something on Puerto Rico.
Self-taught. Teach yourself,
No,
right?
right. So you have to go and
but
look
at
it
some
up.
point,
You don't
also
sit and make assumptions or just go off of
right.
what you
I
heard
totally
from
understand
the
what you're
news.
saying, but at the same time,
But
you
even
have to.
print, you
At the
can't
same time,
believe
you have to
everything.
care. Like, I mean, if I already learned that Africans are like. Poverty. Africa is a country that's poverty stricken.
Yeah.
Why do I care? I'm comfortable in America. Why do I have to go on Google to like go research? They're just gonna have that in their mind. Africa is poverty stricken. Oh, you're from Africa.
And so
that's
that's
why
they're
you-
missing
if you're
out on
gonna
a
have
lot.
it in
When
your
you
mind-
when you have that conception, and you're missing out on so much.
So then why is it my responsibility if you have that in your mind and that's how
Because
you
it's
want
your
to why
country
did
and
I
that's
have
where
to
you're
come?
coming from. It's
You
just
know
like if
why?
I already
Because
think
if you
if
care
I
about
already
the
think
perception
see,
of
not
how
that-
someone thinks
exactly
of you,
if someone
it's
if
your
I- if
Hold on, I
was
can't
just
listen
about
on
to
the
say
left
that.
and the right.
Okay,
Listen,
listen
So
to
which
if
the
way
I
should I
already-
go?
if I-
Okay, thank you,
back and I'll
girl.
hit you with
Thank
mine.
you, thank you, girl.
If I already have a misconception about you, right? And I'm like, God forbid, Sonata sleeps around. She's a man snatcher. She's a gold digger.
Okay.
She's but then, I mean, I'm not gonna go research like, oh yeah. Oh, she's not. You know, you have to tell me. Like, I'll see. I mean, I already have an attitude. Not an attitude.
I don't
but,
have to tell you anything.
Well, you don't have to.
And I just
But if
definitely won't.
you don't have to, and if you like that rumor being spread around, because I would say to this next person, that person, I say to the next person, and you are known as the person that sleeps
So
around.
guess what? No.
Are you the person that sleeps around today?
But at the same time, it's
That was
fact-
good. Bam.
No, actually, no, it's not bad because the same way I could be known as somebody who sleeps around, that doesn't necessarily mean that I sleep around.
Exactly.
Just like Africa is known to be poverty stricken,
Right.
and it's not necessarily poverty stricken.
So if
Exactly.
we have
But you
African-American
choose to
history,
believe
and we
it's
have
not,
our
unless you're
African history,
important to me, unless I feel like you're important and I feel like I want to clarify something so that there isn't miscommunication. I think to some extent you always want to carry, as an African, you want to carry yourself so that you are portraying who you are and people do get a chance to see other things other than the negative. But for me to say it's
Well,
my responsibility
sometimes
to
it's just a
educate
fine
that
line,
person.
What I would say to that is this.
For all that, you
And-
better sign
and
up to the community college,
You hit the
honey.
nail on the head for me, and the difference is I care about the perception that people have of my country because
So
even
then
though
why
I
don't
was
you
born
just
and
live
raised
it
here,
and just be
No,
that example? Why do you feel like you have to go and
no, it's
and
not a
educate
have to
people?
thing.
Uh-huh.
It's more so of a if someone is in front of me and they're
Okay.
inquiring, they're asking questions,
That's
and
a
they're
different
making
story.
statements
That's
that
a
are
different
inaccurate.
story.
They're
It
gonna
is my
enlighten them
responsibility
on
That
to
makes
educate them.
I agree with you.
It's not about
I
going to
agree
look
with
for
you.
it. But on top of that, it is also my responsibility to take the next step when an opportunity is given to give them more education, even if they don't ask. But if you focus in on this, okay, and this is my issue. Even though there's accuracy in the things that they were saying, was there one common denominator between all of those statements
Absolutely.
that you guys noticed?
Absolutely.
Mathematician, what was it?
I feel like it was a bit
Negative.
demeaning.
Thank
right.
you.
It was a bit
What-
demeaning.
what-
That's
what
even if you were
there-
sitting and they were just like, and the guy was just
That's
like,
my
and
point.
So
I want to go to
once again-
Africa to marry 5 wives.
That's my
Once
point.
again,
It was demeaning,
this
and
is
that's
all
it.
that is being. If you look at print, look, unless it's being done by us, okay, for us by us, most of the time it's people who are putting information out there, and
That is
all
not
they
even
know,
us.
and it's not that it's not true information, but it's always one way. It's negative information that could be factual, which creates a perception in someone's mind.
And that's
no
what I'm
one
saying, the
is
painted picture
showcasing the
again.
positive
Okay,
things
I have
that
a
are also
question.
factual.
The people who
What-
are getting
and-
more educated are taking advantage of that, and they're going on their
They're
own to go
going,
and see this.
but not everyone is
But unfortunately,
privileged to
just
do
like
that.
the comments you're saying, the people who are not, they're just making a generalized comment,
Right,
and not
off of
even
what
So
seeing
I should be
what's
responsible
going
for your ignorance.
I'm not-
because-
no, I'm not saying
no,
you're
no,
you,
no,
but
I'm saying
somebody-
no.
anyone-
Like history books, like
Yeah.
Africa has a very long, rich history. None of those people
Now, do
brought
you
up
think
any
here-
No, but I'm just saying. My point is, even if we're talking about social media and the things that we're getting from what's happening now, what about the history books? Nobody cannot tell me that they cannot go and look up a simple history of Africa.
But this is
But
the
you
thing,
can, but
Sonata,
once
you have to
again,
be
what do you think you're
interested.
going to
You have
learn
to
in the
care.
history books?
That's my point. So how can I now force you to care? Well,
We're not forcing you to care. When someone, I mean, any story, like, they have to be interested and care and want to be like, oh, I really want to learn about
On
Africa.
top of that,
Because
the history books are talking about the history. What we're saying is Africa has evolved. It's changing. It's growing.
modernized.
And that,
So it's
that
not really
image
what-
and perception is not anywhere out
right.
there.
You know what, and you're right, it is.
Do you know how excited people get?
Africa's developing at such a high rate. I guess my thing is, when they ask those people, what is it that you know about Africa? Nobody was able to. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about
all
educating
generalization.
yourself, but nobody was able to bring up any historical
Concrete.
facts
Right.
to
It was all
say, oh well, I know
generalization.
that. This country fought for their independence and they were able to free themselves.
that lady did say something about Sierra Leone being a war-stricken, war-torn country.
I mean, but even think
But
about it. Look, if we
war
want to
tour.
go a step
They
further,
couldn't
the
even
movies
describe
that are
anything
made,
modern
okay?
in
That's
it.
what
The
I'm
movies
saying.
that are made,
It's all
okay?
negative.
Rwanda, Blood Diamonds, all the movies that are made that could be hits or not hits are always portraying the not so
That's what I'm
great things.
saying,
And so once
right.
again, this is why I feel such an innate need to educate someone to be like, okay, first of all, let's take it down a notch, okay? No one parties like Africans party, okay?
Right.
You can look at it as positive or negative.
I don't
but
know.
if
I
was
heard
gonna go out to the
Latinos
club-
party, honey.
I think we
Well,
all
they party in
party
Spain. I'm not gonna lie.
We
about
make
that.
it
But
rain.
You see what I mean?
Party.
We make it rain. Okay. Do you know how
Spending
excited
money.
people get when they come to an African party and they like, what is this?
You
My
just
folks
go-
start getting up. They start dancing to us. That's our culture. That's what we do. I'm proud of that. I want you to
Wale.
know that. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
so it's that sense of excitement to know you have no idea the beauties of my country that makes me feel like I want to do it.
Well, you know what? I think people need to. Africa is developing on such a fast, high rate. I think people need to.
They're
I
sleeping
think
on Africa. that's what it is.
they should continue to sleep because when we bust into the room, you will have to wake up by force. But I think we're doing a good job with, just continuing to develop as a country, just doing what we do, whether it's education, whether it's entertainment, whether it's politics, and just showing who we are. But at the same time,
Take the initiative.
take the initiative. You definitely have to take the initiative. Stop being in the box. So I just want you to know that, yes, again, as American, like, step outside, because honestly, people could look at America and just be like, oh, it's a land that they're morally corrupt and money runs everything. But then you also have
You get
your,
shot. Cause,
you get
you get shot everywhere.
you get shot just because you're black.
Let me tell you, I went bulletproof around here.
You know, you're gonna take
Because
advantage.
these streets are violent in Virginia, I went bulletproof around
All in
here.
Virginia.
I mean, how many people are even eating guacamole? In my backyard in Nigeria, we have an avocado tree that
Ooh,
that just
yes,
drops all
please
the
don't say
time.
avocado. My
So
mom-
you know, things like this, people miss. You know, when you're walking down the street, you've got mangoes, you've got all kinds of tropical things that you miss when you just say, okay, you can go and get it from Giant here, but. You know, if you're going there, you're going on vacation, instead of going somewhere else, try something new, come to Nigeria. Let's show you
Get
a
a
good time.
passport. That's what I would tell you. Get a passport, okay? Stop Googling misinformation. What is it? What are these useless social media sites? Eh?
I don't follow those.
Okay, good girl. See, that's why you don't have nothing negative to say about us. Like, I'm just
I choose to keep it positive.
But you know what? I guess ultimately at the end of the day, it's really not about You know, you don't, especially when you're trying to heal relations and you're trying to educate people and bring people in, it's really not about pointing fingers. So I guess, you know, after I did all that huff and puff, rah, rah, rah.
Now you've come down to
I guess. I mean,
we as Africa, we do have the responsibility to educate these people.
I
Let them know that, you know,
I don't wanna
yes,
say all
there's
that.
the bad side, which we don't disagree
just let it go.
with. There is also the good side. There's a positive light.
I
And
just
you know,
wanna
want to
say-
shed light on that positive part of Nigeria, of Africa.
I think it's our responsibility to make sure that we showcase ourselves. Now, what you want to do with it after that, I can't, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, educate yourself. Educate yourself. So that, you know, that's basically my take on America. I think we are still a little closed-minded, but, you know, we still need to open up, but... You know, I guess
They're getting
everybody's.
there.
Yeah.
But didn't you have someone ask you a question about a bone going through your nose? Or
Yeah, I
something
mean,
like
you know,
that?
like I said,
Inappropriate.
Wait, I want to ask you guys,
probably
like, what kind
about-
of questions, what kind of dumb questions have you gotten from Americans? Like,
You know, I think I might have
asking
been
you.
like 12 or so, and you know, I've just gone back and someone asked me, you know, we heard you're from Africa. It was like a big deal around the school. Like, I mean, I actually was like a celebrity, okay, all through high school and college. Like, my nickname was African. I wore it proud because it was like my way to kind of just be like, okay, these people really don't know. Like, you know,
Be proud of where
we're
you're
princesses and we're, you know, we got kings and there's, you know.
That's right.
So I let them know all that stuff just to kind of educate them. But, you know, sometimes you have to realize that people just don't know.
right.
People just don't know.
So what kind of
as
questions
we
have you been
saw.
asked, Senator?
Listen, we can
Look,
go
she gets
all,
into it now.
We
She
can
can
go
all day
all
long.
Do you
day.
sleep in trees?
We can go all day with this. Thank you so much for watching. Let us know what you think at our website, www.infonollywood.com. You can follow us on Twitter at InfoNollywood, and you can also check us out and like us on Facebook. Until the next time, we'll see you again.
Nollywood would like to thank you for watching our show by giving you an opportunity to win $100. All you have to do is send us an email at contact@infonollywood.com or BB pin us at 22F25780 to let us know which episode you watched. You will be entered into a draw to win $100.